Yes, thanks for staying with us. A quick recap. We began this series last week, focusing on helping us get our finances right. Well, today we shall bring it closer home and look at financial freedom through couples' joint bank account.
I'm very excited.
Yeah?
Yes, that topic. It will be an interesting discussion. You can be sure of that as we'll look at the pros and the cons on how to get these right and set the record straight. Like, is couples joint bank account still trending? Is it still in vogue? Well, you know, Pharaoh is also a part of this show. When it's that time, she'll be seated here with her guests, and they will be answering the question, does it even make sense for couples to have one bank account? Different strokes, they say, for different people, John.
Yeah. And, well, the reason we are here is to explore all the angles and provide the best options. So, Helen, should I say how was your week or how has your day been? I know that you started your day very early.
Yes, today was something else. So there's, you know, the marathon issue. Yeah, Lagos State government and their sponsors try to send in as much information about the marathon as possible. But then some of those information, for some of us who are like one-way people, you know, the places that they will say divert and I couldn't understand. So a lot of anxiety. And so I set out from Ikeja this morning as early as 5 a.m. And the road was busy, John.
It was busy.
Very busy.
I left at 4 a.m. and I got here before 5.
So that's...
So I mean, I'm sure it must have affected a lot of people, but it's all fun, you know. Actually, the question was to find out if you did at least 1 kilometer.
But how could I do 1 kilometer, John? If I left home 5, then it meant that I woke up like 3:30, 4 a.m.
Yes.
And the race wouldn't have started until they said 7 officially.
Okay, so I'll register you ahead.
So which one would I have
I'll
joined?
register you ahead of next year's marathon.
Okay, please
just
do.
to make sure.
Please do. You know, most especially that this race is not just for exercise. You know, there's a bigger message behind it.
There are other sentiments behind, yes.
And that thrills me a lot, yes. All right, so I also found out that this year's edition was or is to press for freedom of expression. And that's really, really exciting, using sports as the vehicle. And so I wish and pray, John, that we find from time to time, you know, as a people, common points like this, where we can effectively and collectively say no to some of the things that are not too pleasant and not too civilized, if I can use that word, you know, as we work towards changing, you know, the status quo, or what is the word now?
Yeah.
As we want to change.
The status quo.
Okay.
Or the narrative.
That's the word I was looking for. There's still some sleep in this head. All right.
So one of the reasons we are sharing information on how best family finances can be managed, you know, that's what Helen just told us. So back to our focus today, couples joint bank account. There are so many questions begging for answers on this matter. I'm sure you'll agree, Helen.
I totally agree. So to help with answers, we have on the show today a financial expert with over 16 years experience in the financial services sector. Currently Managing Director, Meristem Trustees Limited. Our guest has a comprehensive experience in investment advisory, asset management, estate planning, marketing, and client relationship market management. Our guest is a facilitator at the Entrepreneurship Academy here in Lagos, and she holds a master's degree of science and business administration. She's a chartered member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, as well as member Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments, UK. Our guest this morning is Mrs. Damilola Hassan, and we are extremely, extremely excited that despite the marathon, you could be seated here with us today on the show.
And
welcome.
We are greatly intimidated.
How come,
by her
John?
profile.
Oh, yes. So if you know all the things I had to drop.
Thank you very much, John and
Yes,
Helen. Thank you
you're
for having
welcome.
me.
And of course, I want to also add that she's happily married and, well, having worked in the financial sector corridors, like they say, for a very long time, we are positive that couples' joint bank accounts will not be strange to
Not at
you
all.
Not
at all. So thank you for being here. So we'll dive into the questions because we've
Right
lost
away, we've
some
lost
time.
quite some time.
Yes,
Yes.
so-
And so the good book says, if that's a good point to start, that a man would leave his father and his mother and shall cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one and stay together for better, for worse. So when they have become one, tell us, can two really become one when it comes to finances?
Okay, good place to start, Ellen. When we read the two shall become one, I want to say that becoming one is not necessarily losing your individuality. I think we should try to define being one. Being one in terms of oneness of purpose, oneness of achievement. So what are you trying to do together? That's the focus of being one. It does not necessarily rule out or take out your individuality. You have four tires to your car. Mm-hmm. They work in sync, and that's one. But then an individual tire has its role that it's playing. If you lose air in one, it affects. So the individuality is absolutely important, but at the same time, they are all moving in the same direction, otherwise the car is going to wreck. So I think that couples should understand that you're not losing who you are, but then what are you coming together to do? What are you coupling together to achieve?
Like they say, unless two work together in agreement, they can't succeed.
What can they achieve?
That analogy really sets the table for our discussion today. Because you see, we've been trying to work out how do we still achieve individuality, and collectiveness at the same time. So, well, I want to say also that the man is often seen as the provider, and then the woman may be the manager. So how do couples manage this preconception, if the table turns and then roles change?
Okay. Do you agree that the tables have actually turned? So maybe not exactly along this line of the man being the key provider and all, but in the last 20 years, there has been significant investment in the girl child. So you have ladies now who are doing really well, who have built a career for themselves. You still have, if you look at performances in school, you have ladies who are, really doing well. So this set of people don't just want to do well in school and then go back home to take the back space. So we are actively building a community of, when I say we, it's inadvertent, but we are all contributing to it, building a community of ladies, women who can earn well, who can fend for themselves. So when you are now married, the lines are already blurred. There is no distinction between the man is the key provider, the lady is just a supporter, because you have ladies earning 6-7 figure salaries and then the husband is just trying to catch up with it. So for me, I think it's important that as a couple, you sit and have conversations. You must always talk. So 3 key fundamentals to a relationship to work: communication, money, and sex. So all of those 3 things must always happen. You must talk.
Talk about them.
Talk about it. Where are we now? Where are we in terms of our finances? What do we earn as a family? Who is earning more? Who is sacrificing more? What should we do? That conversation must happen. We must never play the ostrich.
Who is sacrificing more? Sacrifices sometimes may not be
In financial terms.
Exactly.
Okay,
the more reason why these conversations should happen. And they shouldn't happen when you are married. They should happen the period before you get married.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Okay, there's something I hear around a lot. My money is my money. And you, as a husband, your money is our money. Isn't this a dangerous notion in a marriage relationship?
Personally, I don't think it's a healthy notion. The whole essence of you being married is because you are coming together. And like I said, if you're coming together, then there's a purpose. What is the objective of you coming together? You're coming together to build a family. You know, you're coming together to derive value and strength from one another. It's a synergy. So you are bringing something to the table. Each person is bringing something to the table. You know, so coming into a marriage and then saying, my money is my money, your money is our money, I think that's not fair. I think the conversation should be, what proportion of money is our money? And we both make that happen. You know, so at the risk of jumping the gun to the issue of joint account and all, if I know what you earn and you know what I earn, we can always agree on where the common purse should be. If we agree on a common purse anyway, it's not given. If we agree on a common purse, then we should agree what are we both dropping into that common purse and to what purpose. So I think if we approach it from that angle, it won't be so much of your money is your money, my money, and all of that. It will be, what is that central thing that we want to achieve as a family?
Yes. So, I mean, that gives us a better understanding of how the word commonwealth got coined. So now let's even go right to brass tacks, you know, about the topic for the day. Could you tell us what are the advantages of keeping a common purse in a marriage? Let's state it.
Yeah. It has a number of advantages. As a couple, it's important that we understand why we're together. What do we want to achieve as a family? And how do we arrive? So it's a journey. How do we get to our destination? What are the different milestones? Or at what age? So you're getting married, you're 25, the husband is 28 or whatever. Okay. By 30, what do we want to achieve? By this, by that. So it's you're making the vision plain. You're writing it out and saying, this is what we want to achieve. So how do we achieve it? There are definitely certain things that are common to you both. Your children's education, where you want to live, your investments, and all of that. I believe that in achieving those goals that are common to you in the family, it's healthy to have a common purse so that each person is contributing to that common purse and the objective of the common purse is defined. This is for this purpose, for that purpose, and for this purpose. And then you put structures around how it's going to operate. Again, it doesn't take out you being an individual. So you are consciously putting into that common purse. You're not emptying out everything you have and then going back to that common purse for your daily upkeep. No. You still need to maintain, you have an idea of what you spend, what your expenses are. You know, like they say that ladies are the more, what do they call?
Spend more.
You know, I mean,
okay.
It's debatable. So, but you want to bear in mind, what are my needs? Personal to me. You don't want to keep running to your husband and say, please sign this check, let me withdraw a ridiculous amount for this and that. So I think getting a grasp of what the common purpose is the starting point.
So you still have your self-worth, even, you know, you have...
Exactly. I mean, so as a couple, if you keep everything in the common purse, where do I have the independence to even throw you a surprise birthday party if I have to come back to you for every single thing I'm going to spend money on? So you still need to maintain that personal funds for yourself and for the different things you want to do, but then you are aiming towards certain key goals as a family.
And disadvantages, surely there should be some. Are there any, and what are they?
Yeah. Okay, so money is a sensitive thing. Money, I've seen the issue of money make and mar relationships. You know, so it's important that you understand your personalities. Who exactly is this person I'm getting married to? Who exactly? So if you understand that, it will help you to even decide if a common purse will work for you. If you have a partner who is not financially disciplined, you want to think it again, because people have had very negative experiences where you put money together, you defined the objective, it is for this and that, and then you go back there to check at some point, it's all gone. And then this person has valid reasons in their head why that money should be diverted. But at the end of the day, they probably have lost the money. So the disadvantages to the common purse is that you're vulnerable. Vulnerability isn't bad when you're in love, but then it exposes you to the other person's decisions. Of course, there are things you can do around having, okay, how do we take out money? Must it be joint signatories? Must I always sign with my husband? You know, there are things you can put in place. But that issue of trust, can I trust this person? Can I go all the way? You know, it's something you want to really, really consider. And of course, a very glaring disadvantage is nobody plans for separation or divorce. I mean, but if it now then happens, there's not the conversation around who gets what, to take what. No, I contributed this amount, you know, so that also makes it challenging.
You have a question there, yeah.
Okay.
To that point, like, okay, let's assume that the woman makes more contributions financially.
Yeah.
That is to the common purse. What happens when the unimaginable happens? Like you said, separation, divorce.
Okay.
Somebody is making sacrifices, physical sacrifices. The other person has been putting in more cash, money into the common purse. So when the split happens, how do we value?
And especially in this environment where the man is the head of the family and probably has the final say.
Okay, so it's a very sensitive one.
Yes.
You know, but so you should
Are
love
there
with your heart.
structures? Are there laws? Are there?
Oh, sure, there are, but you know, when it comes to love, it blurs a lot of lines. You know, so I think we all just need to, nobody wants to, you know, anticipate the worst, but I think whatever we're doing, let's do it with our heart, but with a lot of our head in it, you know, so don't abandon common sense. If you have a common purse, I expect that you should have equal access to that purse.
Okay.
I expect that whatever you take out from that purse, so like I said, you've defined your objectives, what do you want to achieve. Whatever assets you're acquiring or whatever investment you're making jointly. So you'll have equal access to it. So when it comes to separation, God forbid, and all of that, you are able to still go back to those assets and still, you know, still divide because you are jointly. So it would be foolhardy for someone to have a common purse with a partner and then every investment made from that common purse is in one person's name. I mean, that's where the real heartbreak can be, when this other person can just literally walk away with all of that. But then, do you know that there's another flip side to it? So we're talking of divorce and separation. How about death?
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yes.
We should.
We'll get to that
I mean,
later.
so many things that, but you can't also afford to approach all of these things with paranoia.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that place of taking the risk with your partner and knowing that we are in this together.
Till death do us part. Life itself is a risk, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't get through this proper process. Once love happens, you know, before you know, marriage happens. All right. Okay, so we're talking about couples joint accounts, and so far our guest has talked about the pros and the cons and perhaps some other options that are in between. We shall go on another break right now. When we return, Mrs. Damilola Hassan will still be here to guide us through how best, you know, we can do this successfully. If you believe in family joint account. Remember, this is Today with John and Helen, and we are looking at getting it right financially. The year just started, and we're making it our point of view to help you get your finances right. All right? So don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment.
Yes, thanks for staying with us. Well, we all know that times are tough, but families are continuously faced with financial obligations and responsibilities. Today on Today with John and Helen, we present an option to getting your finances right. Are couples having joint account or running a joint account the way out? That's a big question.
Okay, so this second segment, we're dedicating it to finding out how successfully we should do this. Because like two have become one. And anything that becomes friction in that union, we try to pull out, as a family show. So how can we ensure that the family joint bank account is another plus, in the marriage setting, not a minus? So we've agreed to keep a common purse. We have agreed from the first segment that it's good to keep a common purse. What steps should we take now to setting up this agreement, and making it work for the family?
So I would say that put a structure to it. Don't just take it for granted that I'm doing this with my partner. I mean, so they bring the bank account opening forms, for example. Say, hey, you can fill it, and then one person gets to fill it. You call it a common purse, but then it's controlled by just one person. I think that's wrong. Except if circumstances have pushed you to that. So maybe one party is no. So even now with mobile banking and all, internet banking, distance is not a barrier anymore. Because I was going to say, except if one person is far away and all of that. Put a structure to it. If you're making investments from the savings from your common purse, ensure that the investment is in your names.
Jointly.
Yes, so Shegun and Damilola Hassan. So it is not Mr. and Mrs. Hassan. Ooh. Because there can be another Mrs. Hassan. I mean, so it has to be, that's why I said, go in with your head. Shegun and Damilola. It's important. If you're making an investment, how are we putting money into this thing? How can we take out? So I have clients that once you're creating a joint investment account, there's a mandate. There's a mandate on how you can draw. So you can only draw into your joint account. And if you want that to change, the other person, you both have to sign the mandate to say we're changing it to this and that. Both emails are in copy of what, so don't just be careless with all of these things, So people say things like, my wife is a better manager. No, my husband is the... And I've seen women suffer these things more because of how our society is. So you have a couple doing things together, and then the man passes. And then the woman is completely lost as to where the investments are. What she doesn't even have an idea.
And yet they jointly agreed to go into it.
Yes. But simply because she wasn't in the picture, she's cut out.
Yes, okay. Now, you've repeatedly talked about going in with your head. And that has stuck in my head. Okay. So I want to ask you, would opening individual personal accounts outside the
joint
common account be entering with your head?
Absolutely. It's a must.
It's a safety catch.
Okay.
It's a must.
It's a must. Okay. So let's not scare people by calling it a safety catch or whatever. Let's just keep it as simple as that is for me.
So it's not everything that is...
So you maintain your individuality, you maintain your own personal bank account. You're going to the salon, you're going to take a trip, there are things you want to do, you want to hang out with friends. You should be able to do some of those things on your own. I mean, that's my opinion. So I think it's important that you have your own personal account that you run, and then I also don't think that it is all investments that you make that should be together. Yeah, I mean, so you really, it's important for couples to sit and look at the dynamics of their family. How are we structured? How are we wired? What are the circumstances around us? You know, so you know the kind of external family members you have. Look at all of those things and decide on what is best for your family without playing the ostrich way of ignoring the noise around you, ignoring the reality around you, and just saying, we're in love, we're in love. Yes, it's good to be in love, but ensure that you have loopholes covered as much as possible.
It's common and not also not common at the same time.
Exactly. It's just
It's a
good balance.
commonwealth that is common and uncommon.
Yes. Okay, so as we're talking, I'm looking at, and it's not because I'm female, but I'm looking at the woman's angle. You know, this is an environment where the female children or the daughters are still expected, you know, to do some things for the extended family. For example, if your mom is still alive, your father is still alive, you still have some younger ones that you are expected, especially if you're number one, kind of, you know. So if everything goes into a joint account, there will definitely be problems.
Exactly.
But
And
that happens on both sides.
So but it's expected for the man to wrongly or rightly to take care of his family. But not everybody will be happy. Not every husband will be happy that the wife is still saddled with so much responsibility from home, from her family. You know, so it does make sense that you pointed out to us that there's need for the husband to have his account, the wife to have wife to have her account, the husband his, and then there is a common purse for the immediate family needs and responsibilities.
Exactly.
For me, that is really clear and very important.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to dig a hole, but it's all right.
I've dug a hole. No, I don't think so.
You didn't.
I don't think so. Okay, so you in the course of explaining or answering one of John's questions, you touched on this a little bit, but if you could expatiate, who would ideally be, you know, the bookkeeper or the managing partner in this arrangement, the joint account now?
Yeah.
Who should be?
Yeah, I think we should do away with stereotyping. We should do away with the man should do this, the woman should do that. We've evolved. So I think it's about who has the skills required, what are your strengths. So if your partner has a weakness with money, in fact, you should actually ensure that there's little or nothing they can do with that your common purse without your involvement. In fact, there's a little, absolutely nothing. So, and that's why it's important for couples to have conversations, communication. There shouldn't be anything you can't talk about, you know. So if you've started that out while you were dating, it just helps when you get into the marriage. What are your strengths? Who is better with numbers? Who is better with remembering things? Who is better with documentation? You know, we've had situations where someone is doing the buying of the assets and the other party is the one keeping the documents, keeping all of the records and everything. You know, so identify who has that strength and then work with a professional.
I try to answer them, and in most cases, it's the woman. Who is better with figures is the woman.
Who's better with management?
Who's good at managing the money is the woman.
It's not always. Sometimes the men are.
Yeah, but even don't forget that managing does not mean full access without the other person being carried along. You know, so it's still important that because you're managing it, you don't just take off with decisions and then you're now filling me in later. We're deciding together, but you are executing. You know, someone is probably better at relating with your professional partners and, you know, all of that, your asset manager. So whoever is able to, you know, better, but you want to ensure that your partner is in the picture of what you're doing. You are having conversations, you are reviewing and all of that. So I think it's about
constantly having conversations.
Communication.
Yes,
you know, I was going to point that out too. And Helen actually talked about something earlier that I want you to stress a little bit more.
Okay.
I mean, like in the area of expenditure for instance, the woman naturally, I may be wrong, has more needs.
He said it.
Oh, you said it.
Yes.
More needs than the man. How do we balance this out? Because, okay, we have the common purse, but the woman naturally
Is the one who...
has more need to, for the money from the common purse.
Okay, so this saying about cut your coat according to your size. Okay, so my mentor, Dr. Lumde Emmanuel, would say that cut your coat according to your material and not even according to your size. Because, I mean, if you are
if the material is not enough.
The material... So if all your material can provide for you is a handkerchief, make a handkerchief out of it and just move on. So this thing about the woman having more needs is it's because there's more money to fund those needs.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why some men don't disclose, don't make full disclosure of what they earn. Because they feel that if I disclose everything, her needs will just expand to feel what she thinks I earn.
Like I don't count my money in front of my car.
Okay.
If I count money in front of my car before I get to the end of the road, something will happen.
No, John.
So I think it's also about we should be prudent. We should have prudence as a guiding principle. Of course, you should also not deprive yourselves, but you should bear in mind delayed gratification. So if we both have that in mind, it's not about the woman trying to fill our own needs and trying to live an expensive lifestyle, but also about what is available and what are my needs and what are my wants.
Great.
All right.
So you take the last question.
Okay, it's the very last question.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, someone is just joining this show and is like, God, I have been looking for answers, to this particular subject. And they're asking, all right, I'm dating right now. I'm not married yet. So what are the key questions that would-be couples need to ask themselves before going into financial partnership or even newlywed? What are the questions that they must ask?
I think they should ask all of the questions that come into their head. I don't think there should be anything you can't talk about. Do we talk about everything? No. But should we not talk about everything? We should talk about everything. So basic questions about money. Sometimes it's not even about you asking the question, it's about observing. You are in the relationship to observe, to watch, So there are certain things that the answers will speak over time.
Yeah.
So you get into a place and you see that this person is always going for the high-end designer labels, despite not having much. Or this person, how do they make decisions? Yes, then if a top priority for you is financial independence at a certain age, you are now then reevaluating that relationship. Am I sure we can actually,
achieve it
with this person? If the answer is yes, then you want to be measured. You don't put both legs in the water at once. So you probably don't even start with a common purse if you've understood that weakness. So key thing for me is observe, talk. If you don't make assumptions, but speak about some of this. If you observe something, I like your bag. I see that this is a particular label, and then she goes, I can't carry a handbag that is not designed. And then you want to find out why is this so. If you don't talk about all of these things, you wouldn't know how and where to place your partner, and then you won't know even where to start that journey, that financial journey together.
I'm just squeezing one question. Something is going on in my head that, yes, we're still married. At the beginning, we decided to have a common purse. But somewhere along the line, some things are happening that, one partner is not happy about.
Yeah.
What's the discussion that will lead to maybe closing or ending this Have you had any incidents like that? People
Absolutely.
okay. And what advice did you give them? How did they solve it?
So, with every conversation, find a good time. There's a timing of a conversation because of the sensitivity of money matters in a relationship. Find a good time, but don't ever shortchange yourself by not talking about it. You know, people live with built up emotions, frustrations over the years, and then one simple thing happens and then it changes everything.
So you have talked and your partner say, no, we must continue on this path. What happens?
It's a common pause. So I am not going to continue to put money into this because of this, and that. If you want to continue, it's
and Helen
it's
is
fine
not going
you.
to ask another question.
I know.
What she's going to do now
You're the police right here.
Is wrap up the segment.
I mean, we can go on and on. It's a very interesting
So Helen, could you
topic
do us that
here.
honor?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Say a big thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, is having a joint account as partners or couple your ultimate symbolic gesture of financial union? That's the question we should be asking. I'm sure we are better informed on the subject today. We thank you again, madam, for finding time to be here, even on this day that the roads were not too friendly.
Yes.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And I must say that was really refreshing. You know, there's more to come.
Thank you very much,
We have
John
our
and
Keep
Helen.
Fit segment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, of course,
And then Pharaoh Shonuga will take the stage after the Keep Fit segment with her guest. M.I.O. Shikoya is her guest. She was here last week. And Pharaoh and her will be trying to answer the questions. Do couples joint, or does couples joint account even make sense? After all said and done, does it make sense? Is it still in vogue? Especially with the younger generation and much more. I believe that you don't want to miss that. So right now, let's join the Keep Fit instructor, and immediately after that, Pharaoh will be here.